Have you ever met someone who was terrible at something, but thought they were a genius? Or have you ever started learning a new skill and, after just a few hours, felt like you'd completely mastered it? Maybe you picked up a guitar, learned 3 chords, and suddenly thought you could headline a concert. Or perhaps you read one article about investing and felt ready to manage a hedge fund. This isn't just a personality quirk. It's a predictable bug in our mental software called the Dunning-Kruger Effect. And understanding it might be the single most important step you can take toward genuine self-improvement. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what the Dunning-Kruger Effect is, explore the fascinating research behind it, learn how to spot it in yourself and others, and most importantly, discover how to overcome it. So stay with me, because this could change the way you think about thinking itself. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias where people with low ability at a task dramatically overestimate their own competence. It was first formally identified in 1999 by 2 psychologists at Cornell University, David Dunning and Justin Kruger. Their groundbreaking paper was titled Unskilled and Unaware of It: How Difficulties in Recognizing One's Own Incompetence Lead to Inflated Self-Assessments. In their original experiments, they tested participants in areas like logical reasoning, grammar, and humor. What they found was remarkable. Participants who scored in the bottom 25% consistently rated their own performance as above average. In one test of logical reasoning, people who scored in the 12th percentile estimated that they had scored in the 62nd percentile. That's a massive gap between reality and self-perception. But here's the truly fascinating part. The researchers found that to know how good you are at something, you need the very same skills you're trying to evaluate. For example, to know if you're a good writer, you need to have good writing skills to recognize what good writing even looks like. This creates a profound paradox. The skills you need to produce a right answer are exactly the skills you need to recognize what a right answer is. Think about it this way. If you don't understand the rules of grammar, you can't tell the difference between a well-written sentence and a poorly written one. If you don't understand logic, you can't spot the flaws in your own reasoning. Your incompetence in the subject literally blinds you to your own incompetence. It's like trying to see in the dark without knowing that light even exists. This leads to what researchers call a double curse for the incompetent. First, they make mistakes and reach poor conclusions. But second, and this is the critical part, their very incompetence robs them of the ability to realize it. They can't see their own errors because they lack the knowledge required to identify those errors in the first place. This is why you see amateur singers on talent shows who are genuinely shocked, sometimes even devastated, when the judges tell them they can't sing. They aren't being arrogant on purpose. They genuinely believe they sound great because they lack the musical training to hear their own mistakes. Their ears literally cannot detect what's wrong. The Dunning-Kruger effect shows up everywhere in daily life. Think about driving. Studies consistently show that about 80% of drivers rate themselves as above average, which is statistically impossible. Or consider the workplace. How many times have you encountered a colleague who confidently presents ideas that are clearly flawed, yet they seem completely unaware of the problems? In medicine, patients who read a few articles online sometimes believe they know more than their doctor who spent over a decade in training. In politics, people with the least understanding of complex policy issues often hold the strongest and most unshakable opinions about them. But here's the thing. The Dunning-Kruger effect isn't just about other people. It affects every single one of us, including you and me. Think about a time you started a new hobby or learned a new subject. In the very beginning, you learn a few basic concepts and your confidence shoots through the roof. You feel like you're getting it, like you've cracked the code. This is what's known as the peak of Mount Stupid. It's the point where you have just enough knowledge to feel confident, but not nearly enough to understand how much you're missing. You don't know what you don't know. And that ignorance feels exactly like expertise. But then something happens. As you continue learning, you start to encounter the true complexity and depth of the subject. You realize that those basic concepts were just the tip of an enormous iceberg. Your confidence plummets. You fall into what's called the valley of despair. This is the uncomfortable stage where you know enough to realize how little you actually know. It's humbling, and it can be deeply discouraging. This is the point where many people give up entirely. They mistake this feeling of inadequacy for a sign that they're not cut out for the subject, when in reality, it's a sign of genuine progress. But if you persist through the valley of despair, something wonderful begins to happen. You slowly start climbing what's called the slope of enlightenment. With continued practice and study, your actual competence grows, and your confidence begins to rebuild, but this time it's grounded in real understanding. Your confidence and your competence start to align. Eventually, after sustained effort, you reach the plateau of sustainability. This is where true experts live. They have a realistic, calibrated understanding of their own abilities. They know what they know, and just as importantly, they know what they don't know. Interestingly, experts often underestimate themselves because they're so aware of the vastness of their field. And that brings us to an important flip side of the Dunning-Kruger effect that often gets overlooked. While beginners tend to overestimate their abilities, true experts tend to underestimate theirs. This is sometimes called the imposter syndrome connection. Experts assume that because something is easy for them, it must be easy for everyone. They downplay their own expertise because they're surrounded by other knowledgeable people and they're painfully aware of how much more there is to learn. So the Dunning-Kruger effect isn't just about overconfidence. It's about a fundamental miscalibration between what we know and what we think we know, and it works in both directions. So, how do you fight the Dunning-Kruger effect? Let's talk about 5 practical strategies you can start using today. Strategy number 1, always assume you might be in a Dunning-Kruger state. This is the foundation. Cultivate intellectual humility. Before you speak with confidence on any topic, ask yourself, how much do I actually know about this? Have I studied it deeply, or have I just skimmed the surface? The simple act of questioning your own expertise is incredibly powerful. Strategy number 2, actively seek feedback from people you trust, and more importantly, actually listen to it. This is harder than it sounds because our ego naturally resists criticism. But honest feedback from knowledgeable people is like a mirror that shows you your blind spots. Find mentors, colleagues, or friends who will tell you the truth, not just what you want to hear. And when they give you constructive criticism, resist the urge to get defensive. Instead, treat it as valuable data about your actual skill level. Strategy number 3, keep learning, always. The more you learn about a subject, the more you'll realize how much there is to know. This is actually a good thing. That growing awareness of your own knowledge gaps is a sign that you're moving past Mount Stupid and developing genuine competence. Read widely. Take courses. Engage with experts. The goal isn't to know everything. The goal is to develop an accurate map of what you know and what you don't. Strategy number 4, embrace the identity of being a perpetual beginner. The Japanese concept of shoshin, or beginner's mind, teaches us to approach every subject with openness and eagerness, regardless of how much we already know. When you let go of the need to be the expert in the room, you free yourself to actually learn. It's okay not to know everything. In fact, the most intelligent people in history were often the first to admit how much they didn't understand. As Socrates famously said, "I know that I know nothing." And strategy number 5, test yourself regularly. One of the best ways to get an accurate picture of your knowledge is to put it to the test. Try to explain a concept to someone else without looking at your notes. Take practice exams. Apply your knowledge in real-world situations. Testing reveals the gaps between what you think you know and what you actually know. It's uncomfortable, but it's one of the fastest paths to genuine competence. So, the next time you feel supremely confident about something you've just started learning, take a pause. You might just be standing on top of Mount Stupid. And that's okay. Recognizing that possibility is itself a sign of wisdom. Understanding the Dunning-Kruger Effect is one of the most powerful tools for lifelong learning and personal growth. It teaches us that true expertise isn't about feeling certain. It's about being comfortable with uncertainty. If you found this explanation helpful, hit the like button and subscribe to the Cognitive Canvas for more deep dives into the fascinating patterns of the human mind. We release new videos every Wednesday and Friday. Let us know in the comments, have you ever experienced the Dunning-Kruger effect yourself? We'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.